The American Spotlight studio blazes with lights. The atmosphere electric as if bracing for a media storm. Karoline Leavitt, the youngest White House press secretary in history, strides onto the stage with a confident smile, but her eyes are sharp as a blade. The audience whispers, cameras lock in, unaware that she's about to drop a bombshell aimed directly at former Vice President Kamala Harris. It all began last week when Harris, in a viral X post called Leavitt Trump's immature spokesperson peddling nothing but fake news. The jab infuriated Leavitt, but she didn't fire back immediately. Instead, she quietly prepared. And today she's ready. I have an interesting story about Miss Harris. Leavitt begins, her voice calm but cutting. She loves playing the progressive leader, but there are secrets she doesn't want Americans to know. The room falls silent. Leavitt reveals Harris hid Biden's health, abandoned the border to criminals, and was deemed incompetent by Obama himself. Before diving into the story, comment where you're watching from and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the latest stories. The tension is palpable as the show continues. Golden lights shine on Karoline Leavitt, who just launched a media grenade at Kamala Harris. The audience holds its breath. Host Laura Ingraham, eyes gleaming, leans forward. Karoline Ingraham says, her voice low and dramatic, "You've made serious allegations about Kamala Harris. Give the audience more details." Leavitt, in an elegant gray suit, sits upright, her gaze steely. Kamala Harris claims to be a progressive leader, but the truth is far harsher. She begins, her voice sharp as a knife. As vice president, she was tasked with securing the border but failed miserably. Internal documents we have show Harris ignored warnings about immigrant gang activity, like MS-13. The result, crime surged in major cities, Chicago, Los Angeles, Houston, with drugs flooding in and violence escalating. Harris knew but chose silence, prioritizing her political image over public safety. Leavitt pauses, letting the words sink in. Ingraham, sensing the heat, presses, "What about the campaign?" Leavitt flashes a cold smile, pulling out a stack of documents, allegedly internal Democratic emails, though their authenticity is questionable. In the 2024 campaign, Harris knew Joe Biden's health was deteriorating severely, but she hid the truth. She held secret meetings to silence advisors, putting personal ambition above national interest. This not only led to defeat against President Trump, but eroded trust in the Democratic Party. She flips a page, her voice growing fiercer. Worse, Barack Obama and top Democrats called Harris a liability. In one email, Obama bluntly said she wasn't fit to represent the party, yet Harris clung to power despite internal opposition. Ingraham, as if waiting for the cue, fires a pointed question. "You say Harris neglected national security. Any specific examples?" Leavitt doesn't blink. In 2022, an intelligence report sent to Harris warned of MS-13 activity at the Texas border. She not only ignored it, but rejected governors' proposals for increased security. The result, a gang-related violence outbreak in Houston, killed dozens. Harris chose media appearances to polish her image over action. That's not failure, it's betrayal. Leavitt emphasizes each word, her voice brimming with outrage, prompting stunned murmurs from the studio audience. Leavitt continues, her tone dropping as if sharing a horrifying secret. "We also found Harris took advice from consultants, tied to shady funding groups profiting from her lax border policies. Some of these funds trace back to South American lobbying groups, and Harris knew but collaborated anyway. This isn't just a mistake, it's personal gain, disguised as humanitarianism." She holds up a chart, showing rising immigrant crime under Harris, stressing that each number is a story Harris ignored. The audience murmurs, some nodding, others shaking their heads in doubt. Ingraham pushes further. "Do you think Harris should face legal accountability?" Leavitt smiles, replying, "Americans will judge her. These documents show she's not just incompetent but unethical. Justice will come one way or another." She flips another page, detailing how Harris pressured Democratic allies to cover up her failures. She threatened to pull campaign funding from senators who dared criticize her border policies. That's manipulation, not leadership. The studio buzzes with applause mixed with dissent. Not far away in a Capitol office, Jasmine Crockett sits before her laptop watching the American Spotlight live. Each of Leavitt's accusations hits like a punch, but Crockett stays calm, scribbling notes. As a Texas congresswoman, lawyer and the squad member, she's used to political dirty tricks. Leavitt's claims from the border to Obama sound like a scripted hit job. "This is Trump's dirty play," she mutters, eyes icy. Memories of tough days in Texas flash by, working twice as hard to overcome bias about her race and gender. Those challenges forged her, and now she's determined to defend Harris not just as an ally but for the sake of justice. "Want to take down Kamala? You'll have to go through me first," she vows, texting her aide. "Prepare border and 2024 campaign documents. We're exposing them." Leavitt on stage keeps attacking. She spins another tale. Harris rejected a Border Patrol budget increase to avoid criticism from the party's progressive wing. She chose personal image over public safety, Leavitt says. Her voice compelling, she presents a carefully prepared report showing a spike in drug smuggling under Harris. "Every drug shipment crossing the border is a Harris failure," she declares, voice thick with indignation. Though some audience members grow skeptical, Leavitt presses on, claiming Harris pressured media to suppress negative reports. "She didn't want the truth out, but today we're tearing down that curtain." Leavitt exits the stage amid applause and questions. Meanwhile, Crockett, at her office, opens her laptop, drafting a speech for an upcoming congressional hearing. Each word she writes is like an arrow, and Leavitt is about to face a storm named Jasmine Crockett. The next morning, the air in the Capitol hearing room is heavy, like the calm before a battle. Light streams through tall windows onto polished wooden benches, where lawmakers sit upright, eyes fixed on the podium. Cameras from major outlets like CNN and MSNBC focus, ready to capture every moment. Jasmine Crockett, Texas congresswoman, steps to the podium with resolute strides, her navy suit exuding strength. After Karoline Leavitt's damning accusations on the American spotlight, Crockett knows it's time to strike back, not just to defend Kamala Harris, but to expose filthy political games. She adjusts the mic, her gaze sweeping the room, from Democratic allies to whispering Republicans. "Colleagues," Crockett begins, her voice low but powerful, like a gust across a desert. "Yesterday, we witnessed a TV performance, not truth, but a scripted drama to smear a woman who's devoted her life to justice, Kamala Harris." The room stirs, some Democrats nodding, Republicans frowning. Crockett holds up her own stack of documents, not for show but to underscore her preparation. Leavitt says, "Harris failed at the border. Let's look at the real data," she says, her voice sharp as a blade. Under Harris, Border Patrol funding rose 15%, and immigrant crime arrests hit record highs. She didn't ignore reports. She led operations to dismantle gangs like MS-13. What Leavitt calls chaos was Harris's tireless effort to balance security and humanity. She flips a page, casting a defiant glance at the Republicans. "If that's failure, I wonder what you call success." The room falls quiet, save for reporters scribbling. Crockett shifts, her voice lower, like a lawyer delivering a closing argument. On Biden's health, Leavitt claims Harris hid the truth. But history shows Harris was the first to call for transparency in the 2024 campaign, holding press briefings to answer every question. If anyone concealed anything, it wasn't Harris. It was those spreading rumors to undermine her. She pauses, noting a Republican shaking his head. "I see skepticism here," she says, a smirk tugging her lips. "Good. Skepticism is needed, but aim it at the right place." Leavitt's forged documents she calls evidence. She displays one of Leavitt's emails, enlarged on the chamber's screen. "This is what they call proof of Obama bashing Harris," Crockett says, dripping with sarcasm. But experts confirmed, this email was fabricated by editing software, with no trace of authenticity. Leavitt didn't just lie, she deliberately manipulated the truth to divide us. Applause erupts from Democrats. But Crockett raises a hand, silencing them. "I'm not done," she says, her voice like thunder. Leavitt dared claim Harris took money from shady groups. But look at Harris's financial records. Every donation is public, rigorously vetted. Meanwhile, I wonder, who's funding this smear campaign? The question hangs, some Republicans looking down. Crockett steps closer to the mic. her voice softer but weighty. Kamala Harris isn't perfect, but she's fought for women's rights, minority communities, and those left behind. Leavitt, a young spokesperson, might think a few papers and a lit stage can destroy a legacy. She's wrong. She turns to the lawmakers, her gaze piercing. We're here to serve the people, not play rumor games. Lies like Leavitt's don't just hurt Harris. They hurt Americans' trust in government. A Republican, Senator Tom Reynolds, stands interrupting. Miss Crockett, you're defending someone who failed her role. The border proves it. Crockett smiles, unfazed. Senator Reynolds, if you want to talk borders, let's talk about your party cutting security budgets in 2023, leaving Harris with limited resources. Don't blame the cleaner when you made the mess. The room erupts in Democratic laughter and applause as Reynolds sits, face flushed. Crockett presses on, her voice fierce. Leavitt calls Harris a liability. I say Leavitt's the liability. A spokesperson willing to spread fake news to please her bosses. I'm here not just to defend Harris but to defend the truth. And the truth is, Harris worked tirelessly while Leavitt and her backers spun tales. She raises a hand, as if holding an invisible torch. Americans deserve the truth, not cheap theatrics. Democratic applause roars. But Crockett doesn't stop. She recounts Harris's journey, from a prosecutor fighting crime, to a vice president facing unprecedented pressure. She didn't flee challenges, she faced them, Crockett says, her voice inspiring. Leavitt might think she's an easy target, but Harris is a fortress, and I'm proud to stand with her. She ends with a call, stop the smears, work for the people, the country, the truth. As Crockett leaves the podium, the room shakes with applause and dissent. Reporters scramble, knowing this speech will dominate tonight's news. But Crockett, walking down the Capitol hallway, feels the weight of responsibility. She knows Leavitt won't stop, and this battle is just beginning. She thinks of Harris, the accusations and her duty. Meanwhile, Leavitt watches Crockett's speech live on TV. She realizes she underestimated her opponent. Leavitt clenches her fists, eyes flashing with resolve. Let her talk, she thinks. The real fight hasn't started yet. Crockett, with her speech, fired the first shot, but Leavitt, backed by the White House, is preparing a counterstrike. Both women, with clashing beliefs and goals, are escalating this media war to new heights. After Jasmine Crockett's explosive congressional speech, pressure mounts on Harris to address Karoline Leavitt's accusations. Under Washington, D.C.'s gentle sunset, a crowd gathers outside the Lincoln Convention Center, where Kamala Harris is set to take the stage. Banners rise with "Truth Stands Tall" and "Harris Fights On." Cameras from major outlets like ABC and Reuters are ready, lenses trained on a simple yet dignified wooden podium. Harris, in an elegant purple suit, steps out with calm poise, but her eyes gleam with unyielding resolve. She places her hand on the mic, her breath steady, as if drawing strength from the air. Tonight I stand here not to defend myself, but to clarify. Harris begins, her voice warm. Harris continues, her tone sharpening, like a teacher addressing students. Leavitt says I hid the truth about Joe Biden's health. But let's recall, throughout the 2024 campaign, I stood before the press weekly, answering every question from policy to the president's health. I didn't dodge. I engaged. If there was any concealment, it came from those spreading rumors to erode voter trust. The crowd applauds, chants of Kamala, rising from the back. She tilts her head, her gaze sweeping the audience, as if speaking to each person. On the border, Leavitt calls it my failure. But the truth is, I worked tirelessly to strengthen security, while upholding America's humanitarian values. I met with governors, border agents, and local communities. We increased budgets, dismantled gangs, and protected thousands of families. That's not failure. That's leadership in tough times. Her voice carries conviction, each word a brick in the wall defending her honor. Harris shifts, her tone softer, almost confiding. Leavitt also claims my own party saw me as a burden. Let me say this, in politics, no one escapes criticism. I've faced it as a prosecutor, senator, and vice president. But I'm not here to please everyone. I'm here to serve the American people, and I'm proud of what we've achieved, from protecting women's rights to advancing economic justice. She pauses, letting the crowd's applause and cheers swell. She raises a hand, signaling silence, her eyes blazing. Those documents Leavitt calls evidence. They're nothing but a hoax. Experts confirmed they're fabricated, designed to divide us. I'm not surprised. It's an old tactic: spread fake news to obscure the truth. But I trust Americans. You're smarter than that. You know the value of truth. The crowd erupts again, chants of truth. Truth, echoing. Harris steps closer to the stage's edge, her voice more personal. I've spoken with Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, who bravely stood up for the truth today. I thank her, not just for her support, but for reminding us we're stronger together. She smiles, warm yet defiant. Crockett and I have talked with our teams. We're preparing a plan to combat misinformation, not just for my honor, but for the future of our democracy. She returns to the mic, her voice rising like a call to action. Today, I urge you all: question, verify, and stand for the truth. We won't let lies divide us. We won't let dirty tricks dim America's ideals. We move forward, together, for a just and transparent future. The crowd leaps to its feet, applause thundering for minutes. As Harris leaves the stage, she shakes hands with a few attendees, her eyes shining with determination. Leavitt's accusations were a trial, and Harris knows she's won the first round. She texts Crockett's team, writing briefly, "Thank you, Jasmine. Get ready for the next round." Meanwhile, at a hotel nearby, Leavitt watches Harris's speech on TV. Alone, she grips her chair, her face expressionless. Crockett's speech dented her credibility, and now Harris has bolstered the Democrats' strength. But Leavitt isn't one to quit. The media war has entered a new phase. Harris, with this speech, not only refuted the accusations, but turned herself into a symbol of resilience. She sent a clear message: she won't fall, and with Crockett's support, she's ready to fight. After Kamala Harris's inspiring speech at the Lincoln Convention Center, media pressure surges like a tsunami. Evening news broadcasts are flooded with analyses of Harris's rebuttal and Jasmine Crockett's sharp congressional speech. Karoline Leavitt, though cornered, fires off a defiant X-post. "If Miss Crockett and Harris are so confident in their truth, let them face me on live TV." The post spreads like wildfire, prompting CNN to swiftly organize a live debate, seeing a chance to draw millions of viewers. Leavitt, backed by the White House, agrees instantly, determined to restore her credibility and reinforce her accusations against Harris. Crockett, though hesitant, is pushed by the Democratic team to participate, viewing it as an opportunity to quash the smear campaign. She enters the battle with confidence, but underestimates Leavitt's meticulous preparation. On the night of the CNN debate, silver-white lights illuminate a circular stage where two podiums face off like battle lines. The audience, packed with journalists and politicians, buzzes with tension as if awaiting a life-or-death clash. Host Anderson Cooper, with his cool but incisive demeanor, steps onto the stage, his voice resounding. "Tonight we witness a showdown between Karoline Leavitt, White House press secretary, and Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, over allegations targeting Kamala Harris." Applause erupts, mixed with anxious murmurs. Leavitt, in a shimmering gray suit, takes the right podium, her eyes confident like a strategist who's planned every move. Crockett, in a deep navy suit, appears on the left, her stride resolute but her eyes betraying a flicker of unease. They lock eyes, like gladiators ready to clash. Cooper opens with a blunt question: "Miss Leavitt, you've accused Kamala Harris of failing as vice president. Miss Crockett, you've called it a lie." "Miss Leavitt, you start." Leavitt takes a deep breath, her voice smooth as a razor's edge. "Kamala Harris has been a disaster for America. We have documents proving she ignored warnings about MS-13 gangs, letting immigrant crime ravage Chicago and Houston. She knew Joe Biden wasn't fit to run in 2024 but hid it, putting personal gain above voters. And internal Democratic emails show Barack Obama calling her incompetent. This is the truth, not a political game." She raises her hand, displaying a chart of immigrant crime stats, her gaze sweeping the audience, drawing them into her narrative. Crockett fires back, her voice fierce but slightly rushed. Leavitt's spinning tales from fake papers. Experts have confirmed her documents are edited fabrications. Harris didn't ignore MS-13. She boosted Border Patrol budgets and dismantled dozens of criminal networks. She held open press briefings about Biden, hiding nothing. Leavitt, you need to check your sources before talking about truth. But her voice trembles slightly, as if sensing the pressure from Leavitt's confident stare. The audience claps, but the applause is weaker than expected. Cooper asks Leavitt, how do you respond to claims your documents are forged? Leavitt smiles, pulling out a new stack, this time allegedly from the Department of Homeland Security. We have sources more reliable than anyone expected. This report shows Harris rejected 2022 border security proposals, leading to a 30% spike in immigrant crime. On Biden, she knew he was unwell but silenced her team. Crockett can deny it, but numbers don't lie. She presents with absolute confidence, her eyes locked on Crockett, as if anticipating every counter. Crockett, sensing the tide turning, raises her voice, but her composure starts to crack. Leavitt, you're making this up. Harris worked with governors, built immigration centers, reduced illegal crossings. Your documents. Just a scam. You think Americans will buy those papers? Her voice peaks, hand pointing sharply at Leavitt, but her aggressive gesture sparks audience murmurs. Cooper intervenes. Miss Crockett, please stay calm, but Crockett, swept up in emotion, presses on. She's Trump's puppet, spreading fake news to smear Harris. I won't let this slide. The audience murmurs, some shaking their heads. Leavitt, seizing the moment, responds with a low, cutting tone. Crockett can scream, but the truth doesn't need emotion. Harris took advice from shady funding groups profiting from loose borders. We have transaction records showing suspicious money flowing into her campaign. Crockett, if you're defending Harris, explain why she didn't disclose these deals. She holds up another document, her eyes challenging, leaving Crockett visibly rattled. Crockett, cornered, responds, but her voice shakes. Harris's records are fully public. You're inventing stories to distract. Harris fights for justice, while you're just, she trails off, breathing heavily, realizing she's losing control. The audience falls silent, sensing the disparity. Cooper asks, Miss Crockett, do you have evidence to refute Leavitt's records? Crockett shakes her head, her voice soft. I will prove it later. Audience murmurs grow, and Leavitt flashes a subtle smile. Leavitt closes, her voice like a verdict. Americans deserve the truth about Harris, a woman who put power above security and ethics. I'm here to expose it, and no one, not even Crockett, can hide that. Applause from part of the audience rings out, while Crockett lowers her head, eyes burning with anger. Cooper wraps up. We'll take a break. As Crockett leaves the stage, she gets a text from Harris. Jasmine, stay calm. We'll counterattack. But Crockett, her heart in turmoil, knows she's lost ground. The media storm after the CNN debate sweeps the nation like a hurricane. Highlight clips, from Leavitt's triumphant stare to Crockett's loss of composure, flood YouTube, racking up tens of millions of views in hours. Outlets from Fox News to the Wall Street Journal hail Leavitt as a political rising star, while CNN and MSNBC try to defend Crockett, but admit she stumbled. The showdown wasn't just a personal clash. It reshaped how the public views Kamala Harris and the Democratic Party. Leavitt leaves the studio with the air of a victor, her eyes gleaming as she checks her phone. X-posts praise her as the truth exposer, with #Leavitt exposes dominating social media. A fan-made video splicing Leavitt's document reveals with triumphant background music goes viral, hitting millions of shares. Right-wing outlets like the Daily Wire dub her Crockett's destroyer, while neutral commentators admit her thorough preparation overwhelmed her opponent. Leavitt texts her team, keep the momentum, we'll corner Harris. She knows this victory has solidified her White House standing. Crockett, in contrast, exits the studio in turmoil. She sits in her car, quietly scrolling X, where she's mocked for losing control, and screaming into the mic like a sore loser. A viral meme shows her angry face with the caption, when the truth is too hard to handle. Left-leaning outlets like The Guardian try to defend her, arguing she was blindsided by Leavitt's surprise documents, but even they admit her reaction was excessive. A text from Harris arrives. Jasmine, we'll get through this. Rest. But Crockett, filled with disappointment, blames herself for letting emotion override reason. Public reaction is deeply divided. In blue states like California and New York, Democratic supporters hold small rallies, hoisting "Kamala is not done" banners, but enthusiasm wanes. Some Crockett fans on X try to defend her, but they're drowned out by criticism. In red states like Georgia and Arizona, Trump supporters gather at bars, cheering Leavitt and calling Harris a liar. Right-wing YouTube channels release analysis videos focusing on Leavitt's documents, despite their contested authenticity, fueling their spread. Harris, from her D.C. office, tries to cool tensions with an X post. The truth will always prevail, no matter the tactics. But the post garners modest engagement, overshadowed by Leavitt's victory videos. She meets with her team, discussing ways to regain momentum, but the mood is heavy. An advisor suggests featuring Crockett at an event to boost morale, but Harris shakes her head. Jasmine needs time. We'll counter ourselves. Meanwhile, Leavitt capitalizes on her win. She appears on Fox and Friends, reiterating her accusations with newfound confidence. Crockett lost control because she couldn't refute the truth, she says, eyes blazing. She calls for investigations into Harris, pressuring Republican lawmakers. Right-wing outlets cheer, dubbing her the GOP's future. But Leavitt, despite her triumph, knows Crockett and Harris remain formidable foes. She texts her team, find more documents. We need to end this. The public swept up in the drama remains polarized. Some young TikTok users mock Crockett in videos, while Democratic supporters try organizing online campaigns to defend Harris. But Leavitt's wave of support is stronger, leaving Democrats on the defensive. Crockett, at home, rewatches the debate, her heart heavy. She opens her laptop, drafting a new speech, determined to reclaim her credibility. I'm not done, she mutters, eyes blazing. But Leavitt, with victory in hand, is leading the game, and the nation waits to see if Crockett can turn the tide. Under the fading dawn sky of Washington, D.C., a small but significant event unfolds at Meridian Hill Park. Red maples glow under the early sun, and a modest crowd, students, activists, and Democratic supporters, gathers around a makeshift stage. After Jasmine Crockett's stinging defeat in the CNN debate, and the media tide favoring Karoline Leavitt, Kamala Harris and Crockett decide to appear together, not to attack, but to reignite unity. Simple banners reading "Truth unites us," and "We rise together," sway gently, a reminder of hope amid the political storm. Harris, in a light blue coat, takes the stage first, her demeanor calm but her eyes radiating resilience. She grips the mic, her voice warm like an older sister addressing family. We're living in a time when truth is twisted, but today, I stand here with someone who's fought tirelessly for justice, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. The crowd applauds, chants of Kamala and Jasmine. Mingling, Crockett, in a silver-gray suit, steps out with a radiant smile, but her eyes carry a hint of reflection after her loss to Leavitt. Harris continues, her voice rising like a rallying cry. The accusations against me aren't personal, they're an attack on our ideals, fairness, transparency, and unity. I'm proud to have Jasmine by my side, someone who stood up, even in the fiercest storms. She turns to Crockett, placing a hand on her shoulder, a gesture rich with meaning. The crowd cheers, sensing the bond between the two women. Harris recounts her days as a prosecutor, facing similar lies. I learned the truth doesn't need to shout, it just needs to be spoken, persistently, and with heart, she says, her eyes gleaming. Crockett takes the mic, drawing a deep breath to steady herself. The CNN loss still haunts her, but Harris's presence and the crowd's energy bolster her. I'm not here to apologize, she begins, her voice resounding like a drumbeat. I'm here to say we don't fall. Leavitt may think she won, but she only won a small battle. The real fight is for the American people, and we won't give up. The crowd claps, some raising fists, as if ready to fight alongside her. She steps to the stage's edge, her voice softening, confiding. I made mistakes in the debate. I let emotion take over, and I'm sorry for that. But I'm not sorry for defending Kamala Harris, who spent her life fighting for the voiceless. She pauses, her gaze sweeping the crowd, seeking connection. Leavitt wants us to believe Harris is a failure, but look at the truth. Harris boosted education budgets, protected voting rights, and elevated thousands of women to leadership roles. That's a legacy no fake document can erase. Harris nods, her eyes filled with pride. She adds, her voice strong like a declaration. We're building a movement not just to refute lies, to create a future where truth is respected. Jasmine and I have spoken with our teams, and we're planning community forums where people can ask questions, verify information, and rebuild trust together. The crowd applauds, cheers swelling like waves. Carrying fresh hope, Crockett grips the mic again, her voice rising with passion. We're not afraid of Leavitt or her tactics. We're stronger because we stand together. Black people, women, youth, everyone who believes in justice. Today I pledge to keep fighting, not just for Harris, but for every one of you. She raises her hand like an oath, and the crowd erupts, chants of keep fighting, echoing through the park. As the two leave the stage, they shake hands with supporters, sharing hugs and words of encouragement. In her mind, Crockett recalls tough days in Texas, overcoming bias to become a congresswoman. The CNN loss was a wound, but today's unity with Harris is a balm. Harris, while shaking a student's hand, whispers to Crockett, "We'll do this, Jasmine, together." Crockett nods, her eyes blazing with resolve. The story of the clash between Karoline Leavitt, Jasmine Crockett, and Kamala Harris, in the script Jasmine Crockett Goes Nuts, after Karoline Leavitt exposed Kamala Harris' shocking secrets, deeply reflects the polarization in media's role in U.S. political life today. Leavitt, with her commanding debate win at CNN through carefully prepared documents and confidence, showcases the power of directed information, even if its authenticity is debated. Conversely, Crockett, despite championing justice, let emotion override reason, leading to defeat through her overheated response under pressure. The Unity event at Meridian Hill Park shows their effort to reclaim trust, but it's still overshadowed by the media tide favoring Leavitt. These details mirror reality in America, where political narratives are often shaped by social media, fake news, and emotion rather than truth. The lesson, in today's polarized U.S., controlling emotions and verifying information are key to defending one's stance. Crockett lost because anger took over, much like how many Americans get swept into online arguments without checking facts. Leavitt, though ethically questionable, won through tight media strategy, reminding us that in the information age, thorough preparation and staying calm under pressure are critical. The unity of Crockett and Harris teaches that, despite setbacks, community solidarity and persistence with truth can plant seeds of hope. So learn to listen, verify sources, and build dialogue based on reason, not emotion or rumors. That's how every American can help heal the divide. Subscribe to the channel to follow the fight for truth between Crockett, Harris, and Leavitt. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video with even more thrilling developments.